have you ever found yourself completely torn between two just very different paths when it comes to your time?
Oh, definitely. All the time.
Right. Like on one hand, you have this temptation to chase that fast, flashy payout.
The big win.
Exactly. The massive launch, the viral moment. It gives you that immediate rush of dopamine.
Yep. It feels great in the moment.
It really does. But then on the other hand, there's the quiet, honestly, kind of unglamorous satisfaction of just putting your head down and building a sustainable, long-term economic engine.
Slow grind.
The slow grind, yeah. And it's this classic dilemma of human nature, really. And it's the exact tension we are going to explore in today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm joined by our resident strategy analyst to unpack this.
Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here for this one, because our source material today comes from a rather unexpected place.
Yeah, that is an understatement. When I first looked at what we were covering, I was highly skeptical.
I don't blame you at all.
Because we are analyzing a comprehensive strategy manual specifically dedicated to the mechanics of milk and dairy farming in Farming Simulator 23 Mobile.
I know. I realized that looking at a virtual tractor simulation might sound incredibly niche at first glance.
A mobile farming game acting as a masterclass in financial philosophy, it sounds ridiculous.
It does, but stick with us, because the underlying mechanics we're analyzing today are fundamentally about complex resource management.
Right.
You do not need to be a gamer, and you certainly don't need to possess any virtual agricultural skills to extract something profoundly useful from this material.
No overalls required.
Exactly, no overalls required. The strategy guide we're unpacking operates as it's a masterclass in delayed gratification, risk mitigation, and really the architecture of self-sustaining systems.
And going through the sheer mathematical depth of the mechanics in this guide, the real-world economic parallels just become impossible to ignore.
They really do.
So our mission today is to use this meticulous virtual farming guide as a case study. We want to unpack why smart money, which is built on continuous systems, almost always outperforms fast money built on single events.
Right, and according to the text, most new players entering Farming Simulator 23 Mobile default to a very specific, almost instinctive routine.
They just do what feels natural.
Exactly. They look at their starting plot of land and they focus entirely on crops.
Dirt and seeds.
Dirt and seeds. They plow the virtual field, they plant wheat or barley or soybeans, and this is the key part, they sit back and wait for the season to pass.
Just waiting.
Yeah. They harvest, they sell the massive yield all at once, and then they repeat that entire cycle over again.
And I mean, I get it. It creates a very clear, tangible sense of productivity because there's a massive physical result at the end of the line. You see the big pile of grain, you see the big check.
But that tangible result is exactly what masks the underlying economic vulnerability of the whole approach.
How so?
Well, when a player operates purely on crops, they are operating purely at the mercy of the seasons. You perform all the heavy physical lifting up front. You endure a long period of waiting. And then you receive one large, single payout.
It's the big harvest.
Yes. But the psychological trap is that after that massive payout hits your bank account, you are immediately back to zero.
You're starting completely over.
You are forced right back into the waiting phase. It is the textbook definition of a boom and bust cycle. Your cash flow is highly irregular, making you completely beholden to the timing of that next harvest.
It actually struck me reading this how perfectly it mirrors certain aspects of the gig economy for us in the real world.
Oh, absolutely. That is a great comparison.
Well, like, you get that massive check from a freelance job or a major seasonal project, and you feel incredibly secure.
For about 24 hours.
Literally 24 hours. But then the anxiety sets in the very next morning because your income stream has effectively flatlined until you secure the next big job.
We're just waiting for the next harvest.
Exactly. So the guide introduces dairy farming as the paradigm shift away from that anxiety. It positions the dairy mechanics not just as a supplementary activity to do on the side, but as the absolute antidote to the seasonal boom and bust.
The text draws a very hard line right up front about this. It says dairy farming is not fast money, it is smart money.
Fast money versus smart money. That distinction changes the entire objective of the game, doesn't it?
It completely flips it. With crops, the player is chasing an event. They're chasing the harvest. With dairy, the player is architecting a system.
A continuous system.
Right. When properly configured, dairy farming creates a steady, continuous stream of income. It's an economic engine that actively requires and rewards patience.
Because you aren't just crossing your fingers and managing dwindling cash reserves, hoping you make it to the fall.
No, instead of waiting for the harvest season to finally roll around, you possess a biological asset that is producing quantifiable value every single in-game day, regardless of what season it is.
But knowing human nature, transitioning from chasing those big adrenaline rush events to building slow, quiet systems usually comes with some massive growing pains.
Oh, definitely. People want results yesterday.
Right. And I noticed the guide highlights a classic beginner mistake that just feels so universally applicable.
The barn expansion.
Barn expansion, yes. When a player finally decides to pivot to dairy farming, the immediate, overwhelming urge is to go all in.
They want to be the dairy king immediately.
They scrape together enough capital to buy a large barn, and their first instinct is to buy as many cows as possible to fill that facility to the absolute brim.
Just pack them in.
There's this desire to look at a full barn and instantly declare themselves a magnate.
But that immediate desire for scale creates a catastrophic logistical bottleneck. The strategy manual spends a significant amount of time breaking down the cascade effect of that exact misstep.
It's a domino effect.
A brutal one. When you purchase a massive herd on day one, those animals immediately demand an enormous volume of feed.
Which you probably don't have.
Exactly. To produce that much feed, you suddenly require specialized heavy equipment. Procuring and operating that equipment means you have to drastically ramp up your crop production just to support the daily intake of the animals.
So you're back doing the crop grind anyway.
Even worse, it mandates a massive, sudden time investment that a beginner's infrastructure simply cannot support.
Which means the player has essentially built a trap for themselves. They rush the expansion, the infrastructure buckles under the weight of the demand, which inevitably leads to severe feed shortages.
And the game punishes you for that.
The guide is very clear about the penalty here. When there is feed shortage, the herd's productivity metrics just plummet.
They stop making milk?
Right. So suddenly, instead of a compounding asset, the player is left with a barn full of hungry virtual cows actively draining their cash reserves.
It's a nightmare scenario. And the reason that aggressive rushing strategy fails so spectacularly is tied to one of the game's more nuanced mechanics, which is the maturation cycle.
Tell me about that.
The guide emphasizes that when you purchase livestock, you are not buying a static machine that instantly outputs product at maximum capacity. You are investing in a living system.
They're virtual animals, but they have biology.
Precisely. The cows in Farming Simulator 23 Mobile follow a specific aging curve. Young cows naturally produce significantly less milk than older cows.
I found that mechanic fascinating because it acts as a built-in speed limit for the player.
It forces you to slow down.
Does that mean a player's income naturally scales up just by virtue of the herd aging, even if they don't buy a single additional animal?
That is the crucial design element. It operates like built-in compound interest. It enforces patience while teaching the fundamental value of starting small and scaling safely.
So you buy a few cows and you let them grow.
Exactly. By purchasing a highly manageable number of cows initially, the player gives themselves a necessary grace period.
To figure things out.
Right. During this period, the low feed requirements allow them to actually learn the intricacies of the systems. They can observe how productivity fluctuates. They can master the logistics of feed preparation.
Without panicking.
They get comfortable with the daily rhythm of milk production without the existential dread of a massive, farm-destroying feed shortage looming over their daily operations.
Okay, so if buying 100 cows on day one is a recipe for disaster, how do you actually keep the ones you do have producing at optimal levels?
Well, that comes down to management.
Because looking at the mechanics, just tossing them basic grass from the meadow isn't going to cut it.
No, not if you want to be profitable.
The guide outlines 3 exact pillars that dictate your milk output. It's the sheer number of cows you own, the quality of the feed you provide, and the overall productivity percentage of your barn environment.
Let's focus on that second pillar, feed quality, because that reveals where the depth of the game truly opens up. The feed mechanics scale directly with player experience and farm infrastructure.
It's not just one type of food.
Not at all. The guide details a strict feed hierarchy. At the foundational level, you have basic grass.
Which is just what it sounds like.
Just grass. It is the easiest resource to acquire, requiring minimal equipment, but it yields the absolute lowest baseline milk output. It functions essentially as survival food to keep the herd alive.
So it's the fast food of the virtual cow world.
Basically, yes.
Stepping up from basic survival, the guide introduces hay, which it frames as the ideal middle ground for an intermediate player.
It's a great stepping stone.
It requires a bit more effort. You have to mow it, dry it with a tedder, and bale it. But it doesn't demand the high-end industrial machinery.
Right. And beyond hay, the player can move into silage, which involves a much more complex process of fermenting grass or chaff in bunker silos. That offers an even higher efficiency tier.
But there is a top tier, right?
Oh, yes. The ultimate objective, the absolute pinnacle of the feed hierarchy in this simulation, is a concoction called Total Mixed Ration, commonly referred to as TMR.
Total Mixed Ration?
The manual explains that TMR requires a highly sophisticated preparation sequence. A player cannot simply harvest it directly from a field.
You have to cook it, essentially.
You must actively manufacture it. You do this by combining specific ratios of hay, straw, silage, and mineral feed using a specialized piece of equipment called a mixer wagon.
Wow.
It is highly complex and time-consuming, but the resulting trade-off is the absolute maximum milk production mathematically possible within the game's engine.
So TMR is the premium fuel required for a high-performance engine.
Precisely.
But the guide also issues a pretty severe warning about the margin of error when running that engine. Dairy farming in this environment highly rewards meticulous attention to detail.
It punishes laziness.
It really does. The text focuses heavily on strict efficiency rules. If your barn productivity drops to 80%, your daily income drops directly in tandem with that percentage.
Dollar for dollar.
And that drop could be because you overcrowded the facility or neglected the regular cleanliness and maintenance of the feeding area.
Analyzing that penalty reveals a critical insight about continuous systems in general. Small, persistent inefficiencies in a daily system compound over time in a way they simply do not in a seasonal, event-based system.
That makes total sense.
If a player executes a slightly suboptimal crop harvest, they take a financial hit once for that season, and then the board resets. They try again next year.
Right, it's a one-time mistake.
But if a dairy barn is constantly operating at 80% productivity instead of 100% due to poor cleanliness, the player is actively bleeding potential profit every single minute of every single in-game day.
It's a slow leak in the boat.
Exactly. The system demands active management. It demands gradual, calculated expansion rather than overloading, and rigorous maintenance to keep that efficiency metric maximized.
Okay, let's look at the ideal scenario where the player gets it right. They started small, they respected the maturation cycle, they mastered the complex TMR feed mixing we just talked about, and they maintained a spotless facility.
They built the perfect engine.
This brings us to the daily operational flow, and the guide spends considerable time on the profound psychological shift that occurs in this phase.
It's a totally different game at this point.
It really is. The gameplay transitions from a chaotic guessing game of seasonal survival into a highly predictable, mathematically stable routine. You log in, and you watch your milk storage steadily and reliably increase.
The stress is gone.
The stress is totally gone. You can estimate your precise daily income based solely on your current herd size and your maintained productivity percentage.
And connecting the dots on why that predictability matters requires looking at the broader virtual economy of the game. It goes far beyond just the psychological comfort of seeing numbers reliably increase on a screen.
It's tangible leverage.
Very tangible. That continuous daily milk income fundamentally alters the entire financial architecture of the player's farm.
Because it pays the bills.
Yes. Because the milk is generated consistently, it provides a steady, liquid cash flow that covers all of the daily operational expenses, the equipment leasing costs, and the property maintenance fees.
That seems like it would completely remove the baseline anxiety of the game. Like if you think back to the beginner who only planted wheat, they are entirely dependent on that massive seasonal sale just to survive the year and pay their daily holding costs.
They are living paycheck to paycheck, essentially.
Basically. If they need to purchase a new tractor or expand their land, they are forced to wait for the harvest to generate the capital.
But the dairy farmer operates in a completely different reality. Because their daily baseline expenses are already neutralized by the constant flow of milk revenue, their seasonal crop profits are completely untouched.
Pure profit.
Pure profit. Any additional capital they hold is entirely freed up. They can deploy that cash to purchase new fields, upgrade to heavier tractors, or diversify into entirely new production chains.
And they can do it without the constant looming fear of going bankrupt while waiting for a field of soybeans to mature.
It establishes the ultimate financial safety net.
Even with that safety net, though, the guide is very clear that managing the final product requires its own layer of strategy.
You still have to sell the milk.
Right. Just because you have a massive storage tank full of milk doesn't mean you should immediately dump it on their open market the second it is produced.
That's a rookie mistake.
Selling the product might seem like the simplest part of the game, but market prices in Farming Simulator fluctuate continuously based on simulated supply and demand, much like real-world commodities.
The strategic manual specifically notes that waiting for optimal market rates is a crucial optimization step. The objective is to maximize the financial yield of the complex system the player just spent hours building.
You don't want to sell yourself short after all that work.
Never. Monitoring the price charts and holding inventory until the market peaks, which is often during specific in-game winter months, can increase profit margins by a massive percentage.
And the logistics of getting it to market matter too, right?
Very much so. The guide dives deep into transport efficiency. In this simulation, real-world player time is a highly valuable resource.
Your actual time sitting on the couch playing.
Exactly. If a player utilizes a small, entry-level liquid trailer to transport their milk to the sell point, they will waste an exorbitant amount of their actual playing time simply driving back and forth across the map.
It turns a strategic farming game into a tedious delivery driving simulator.
Precisely. Upgrading to massive industrial tanker trailers reduces those transport trips to a minimum. It allows the player to spend their time actually managing the macroeconomic strategy of the farm rather than performing low-level logistical tasks.
So you optimize the market timing, and you optimize the physical logistics. But getting to the final stages of this strategy guide reveals the most compelling insight of all.
This is where it all comes together.
We've spent this entire deep dive contrasting the boom and bust crop cycle with the steady, continuous dairy cycle. But the text reveals that the ultimate, most powerful methodology utilized by advanced players isn't about choosing one system and discarding the other.
It's not an either-or situation.
The true endgame is about architecting the perfect hybrid.
The most robust and financially dominant farms in the simulation combine both systems into a closed-loop synergy.
A closed loop.
Yes, you utilize the crop farming side of your operation, the heavy field work, the plowing, the planting, and the harvesting, specifically to produce the high-quality raw materials required for the livestock.
So the crops become the feed.
The crops become the foundational ingredients for the complex total mixed ration we discussed earlier. Then, you utilize the dairy farming side of the operation to consume that high-quality feed, converting it into an incredibly stable, highly predictable daily cash flow.
That closed-loop synergy is what unlocks exponential long-term growth. Advanced players are no longer planting crops just to sell them raw on the open market.
That's a waste of potential.
Right. They are planning their entire seasonal agricultural cycles around the specific caloric and nutritional needs of their livestock.
They aren't treating the dairy cows as just another animal wandering around the farm.
No, they're treating the herd as the central economic engine of the entire enterprise.
It represents a profound shift in perspective. It moves dairy farming from being a physically intense series of chores to being a strategically focused management exercise. It requires long-term systemic thinking.
And you can't break that loop.
Breaking that synergy by rushing or overexpanding causes the entire loop to collapse. If you expand the herd faster than your crop yield can support, you trigger the feed shortages.
Which crushes productivity.
The shortages crush the productivity metrics, and the reduced productivity destroys the profit margins that were supposed to fund the next expansion. Maintaining balance across the entire vertically integrated system is the true challenge.
When you pull all these mechanics together, it becomes clear that mastering dairy farming in Farming Simulator 23 Mobile is far more than just clicking buttons in a video game.
It's a fully realized, complex financial ecosystem.
It lacks the flashiness of a massive instant payout. It certainly doesn't offer the immediate gratification that makes for exciting viral gameplay clips. Nobody is posting TikToks of their virtual cows eating mixed rations.
No, they aren't.
But instead, it quietly and rigorously teaches the mechanics of patience. It financially rewards deep organization, meticulous attention to detail, and careful capacity planning.
It proves that, quite often, the absolute strongest and most resilient systems you can possibly build are the quietest ones. And the translation of these mechanics to broader strategic thinking is the core value for you, the listener, today. A stable, continuous, and highly optimized income stream provides a level of operational security that risky, seasonal profit spikes simply cannot match.
Right.
Smart, methodical growth governed by the actual maturation of your assets will always outlast fast, chaotic expansion driven by impatience.
It's the tortoise and the hare, just with tractors.
Exactly. While this specific manual is ostensibly about managing virtual cows and digital tractors, the underlying philosophy it preaches is universal.
It really is.
Investing in self-sustaining systems, respecting the natural maturation cycles of your investments, maintaining strict operational efficiency, and architecting synergistic feedback loops. These are principles that apply to business development, personal finance, and long-term career planning far beyond the confines of a mobile screen.
It fundamentally changes how you view the generation of value over time. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of continuous systems.
It's been a great conversation.
We hope it provided a fresh lens through which to view the balance between fast wins and long-term stability. As we wrap up, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you navigate your own projects and goals.
This is the real takeaway.
If you were to adopt this specific dairy farming philosophy in your own life or your own career, if you made a deliberate choice to stop chasing the seasonal high-stress harvest and instead focused your energy entirely on architecting a quiet, continuous, and compounding system, what would your milk be? Think about the underlying engine you could build. The feeling of waiting for a single massive payday.
Oh, yeah.
You know the feeling. You've done all the work. You've put in the hours, the sweat, the capital. You've prepped the soil, planted the seeds, dealt with the weeds.
And then you just wait.
Exactly. You just wait. Your entire financial year, your entire ability to grow your business, it just hinges on one specific seasonal moment. And when it comes, I mean, it's great.
It's fantastic.
But leading up to it, it's incredibly stressful, right?
Sure.
So take that feeling and contrast it with waking up every single in-game day to a guaranteed steady stream of income hitting your bank account, completely regardless of what season it is outside.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine. Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm so excited for this one because we are looking at a stack of advanced strategies, expert player notes, and community breakdowns for Farming Simulator 23 Mobile.
It's a great topic.
It really is. Specifically, we're looking at the strategic transition from purely crop-based farming to a highly lucrative dairy-focused economy.
Which is huge.
Our mission today is to decode exactly why transitioning to a dairy empire is widely considered the ultimate endgame strategy. We're going to map out how you move from the anxiety of those seasonal harvests to a bulletproof, long-term financial system for your virtual farm.
It's a fascinating transition to examine, honestly. And it really separates the casual players from the seasoned virtual farmers. Mastering this dairy system, it fundamentally changes how the entire mobile game is played.
Oh, completely.
You stop reacting to the game's changing seasons, and you start dictating your own economic pace. It shifts from a game of immediate action, driving a tractor to do a single task right now, to a game of strategic orchestration and macroeconomics.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when you look at how most people start playing Farming Simulator 23 Mobile, they almost all fall into what we can call the crop trap.
Oh, absolutely.
I know I did. You boot up the game, you look at your starting fields, and you focus entirely on arable farming. You plant wheat, or maybe you save up for soybeans because they have a high sell price.
The classic soybean grind.
Yeah, the soybean grind. And then you literally just fast forward time, you harvest, you drive it to the sell point, you get a big chunk of change, and you repeat that exact cycle.
Over and over.
Right. It feels like you're playing the game correctly, but it's a total boom and bust cycle. You are entirely at the mercy of the calendar. Why is that such a trap if it technically, makes money?
Well, what's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of that crop cycle, especially in a mobile game environment. It provides an illusion of high profitability.
An illusion?
Yeah, because when that harvest comes in and you sell a massive trailer full of soybeans, it's a large single payout. The number goes up, dopamine hits, and you feel successful.
Right, you see $100,000 drop into your account all at once.
Exactly. But the core theme of the advanced strategies we're looking at introduces a radically different philosophy for dairy. Dairy farming is not fast money. It is smart money.
Smart money. I like that.
It requires a complete mindset shift. You are no longer waiting for that one seasonal jackpot. Instead, you're engineering a baseline system that generates continuous income every single in-game day.
Yeah.
Winter, summer, doesn't matter.
So, if I'm a player who is used to just chasing the highest priced crop on the market, why should I care about setting up this daily trickle of income? I mean, doesn't that just take more time and effort to manage?
It does take effort to set up, but think about your daily operational costs.
Okay.
You have equipment maintenance, property costs, maybe loan interest if you borrowed money to expand. If you're only relying on crops, your bank balance is slowly draining every single day until harvest time.
Just bleeding cash.
Exactly. And that creates a massive bottleneck for expansion. With the dairy operation, your daily milk income easily covers your baseline farm expenses. It gives you the breathing room to actually fund continuous expansion.
So you aren't constantly stressed about going into the red.
Right. You can buy new equipment or lease new fields without sweating over whether you have enough cash to survive until the canola is ready to harvest. It's the difference between being a volatile day trader and a long-term dividend investor. You're creating a baseline revenue that protects you from the volatility of the agricultural calendar.
I love that analogy. You go from being a gig worker to owning a utility company.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But getting to that utility company level of stability isn't just a matter of dropping a cow bar on your map and walking away. The community notes we've been reviewing flag a massive pitfall that almost every beginner hits.
Oh yes, the buying spree.
And I have to admit, it is such a relatable urge. You grind out a bunch of contracts, you finally save up the $100,000 or whatever it is for a large cow pasture or a brand new barn. The UI pops up and it says capacity 0 out of 45 cows.
Right.
As a gamer, my immediate instinct is to spend every remaining dollar I have to buy 45 cows. I want the max capacity. I want a massive herd so I can get maximum milk on day one. Why is that a terrible idea?
That excitement is exactly the danger. And it is the quickest way to bankrupt a new farm. Buying too many cows early on leads to a cascading crisis.
Cascading how?
It's a chain reaction of resource depletion. Think about the mechanics. If you suddenly have a massive herd of 45 cows, you instantly have massive feed requirements. The feed bar in your UI is going to drop like a stone.
Because they're eating everything.
Exactly. To fill that demand, you suddenly need more equipment to harvest feed. You might need bigger mowers, a windrower, a baller. More equipment means you need a bigger tractor to pull them.
And more money.
Exactly. Furthermore, you now have to dedicate almost all of your crop production solely to sustaining your animals, rather than selling anything for profit. Very quickly, you'll find yourself staring at a screen in horror, realizing your massive new herd is eating a month's worth of grass every 2 days.
Wow.
You don't own the machinery to feed them, and their milk production has flatlined to zero because they are starving. What was supposed to be a passive income stream becomes a massive, overwhelming time investment.
That is a terrifying scenario. A barn full of expensive, starving digital cows eating through your savings. But wait, if I don't buy the 45 cows, how do I ever reach that max capacity without spending another fortune later?
Well,
Because here's where it gets incredibly interesting, and it's a mechanic I think a lot of casual players completely miss. The cows in Farming Simulator 23 Mobile actually age.
precisely. They age. It's not just a static asset you place in a building. They are simulated animals that mature over time. When you buy young cows, they produce significantly less milk.
Okay.
But as the months pass in-game, they mature into adult dairy cows, and their milk yield increases dramatically. Your asset appreciates just by existing and being fed in your ecosystem. Furthermore, if you keep them healthy, they will eventually reproduce, naturally expanding your herd.
Okay, so if they appreciate and reproduce naturally, what's the actual recommended strategy for a player just starting their dairy journey?
The consensus is to start very small. Buy a manageable number of dairy cows, maybe 10 or 15.
Just a fraction of the capacity.
Right. Because the cows mature and their milk yield increases naturally over time, and because they'll eventually breed, your income and herd size will scale up organically. Starting small teaches you the necessary rhythm of dairy farming.
It gives you time to figure things out.
It lets you understand the daily workflow, how much they actually eat, how often you need to provide water if your barn requires it, how fast the milk tank fills up, all without the pressure of a massive herd eating through your reserves faster than you can replenish them.
It's like putting training wheels on a massive industrial complex. You learn the ropes on a dozen cows, and by the time they are mature and producing maximum milk, you've completely figured out your logistics.
That's exactly it.
Which brings us perfectly to the actual engine of this whole operation. The sources we have lay out 3 essential pillars that absolutely dictate your milk production. If you want to succeed, you have to master these 3 things.
Let's hear them.
Number 1 is the number of cows you own, which we just covered. Number 2 is the quality of feed you provide. And number 3 is the productivity percentage of your barn.
Let's break down that second pillar, the feed hierarchy, because this is where the strategic depth of the game really shines and where players often get confused.
Yeah, it's not just food is food.
Not at all. There's a clear progression of feed quality, and it directly impacts your productivity percentage. At the very bottom, you have basic grass.
Right. And grass seems like the easiest entry point. I mean, I just drive over a field with a mower attached to my tractor, scoop it up with a forage wagon, and dump it in the trough, right?
Exactly. It's highly accessible and costs almost nothing to produce, but it absolutely will not give you maximum milk output.
The game wants you to work for it.
The game penalizes you for taking the easy route, yeah. Grass is essentially subsistence farming for your livestock. If you only feed them grass, their productivity caps out at a very low percentage, meaning you are leaving a massive amount of potential milk and therefore money on the table.
So if I want to increase that percentage, what's the next step? Do I just buy a different type of food from the store?
You step up to hay. This is generally considered the perfect starting point for beginners who want better yields without getting overwhelmed by complex machinery. But to get hay, you have to add steps to your gameplay loop.
Walk me through those steps. For a player looking at the store menu, what's the actual in-game difference between grass and hay?
To make hay, you first mow the grass. But instead of picking it up immediately, you have to attach a tool called a tedder to your tractor.
A tedder.
Yeah, tedder. And you drive over the cut grass. The tedder flips the grass, allowing it to dry in the sun and become hay. Then you typically use a windrower to sweep it into neat lines. And finally, you come through with a baler to compress it into hay bales, or a forage wagon to pick it up loose.
That's a lot more work.
It requires purchasing 2 or 3 additional implements, yes. But it significantly boosts your cow's milk production over basic grass.
That makes sense. It's an investment in machinery that pays off in higher daily milk yields. But I know hay isn't the end of the line. I've seen players talking about silage and then this mythical thing called TMR.
Yes, silage is the next step up, which involves fermenting grass or chaff in a bunker silo or wrapping bales in plastic. It's highly efficient. But the absolute peak of the feed hierarchy, the gold standard of dairy farming in this game, is total mixed ration, or TMR.
Okay, let's talk about TMR, because this sounds like a Michelin star meal for digital cows. What actually is TMR in the game, and how do I make it? Because I can't just grow a field of TMR.
No, you certainly cannot. TMR requires significant preparation and a dedicated piece of equipment called a mixer wagon. To get TMR, you aren't just harvesting a single crop, you're operating a mobile processing plant.
A mobile processing plant?
Practically. You need to load the mixer wagon with exact balanced ratios of different ingredients, typically hay, straw, and silage, or sometimes mineral feed, depending on your exact setup.
Wait, exact ratio, so it's a mini game of precision. What happens if I just dump 2 bales of hay and a tiny bit of silage into the mixer?
The UI for the mixer wagon has very specific bars with green zones. If you overload one ingredient and your ratio falls outside those green zones, the game doesn't give you total mixed ration.
It downgrades it.
It downgrades the mixture to basic forage. And if you feed that to your cows, your productivity tanks. So you have to be meticulous. You might need exactly 1 bale of hay, 1 bale of straw, and then you carefully top it off with loose silage from a bucket until the bars align perfectly.
Wow.
It is a major investment of your real-world time and in-game capital to acquire all those different source materials and mix them daily. But the return on that investment is what pushes your dairy farm into an absolute economic powerhouse. Feeding your cows perfect TMR is how you unlock 100% feed effectiveness.
And the math behind that productivity is ruthless. The strategy notes highlight this stark reality. Dairy farming is entirely about efficiency. If your barn drops from 100% productivity down to 80%, your income drops right along with it.
Dollar for dollar.
You literally lose 20% of your daily cash flow just because your cows aren't eating the optimal mix. But feed isn't the only thing that affects that percentage, right? Let's talk about that third pillar, barn maintenance.
This is a crucial point that trips up a lot of intermediate players. They finally figure out the TMR mixer, they feed the cows the perfect ration, and they wonder why their productivity is still stuck at 90%.
Right.
This raises an important question about environmental maintenance. You have to address hidden profit killers, specifically barn cleanliness.
How does that actually work in the game? Do I have a clean button I press in a menu somewhere?
Not at all. It is a physical, mechanical gameplay loop. In the game, cows are messy. As they eat, feed spills out of the trough and onto the ground in the feeding area. You will literally see a visual mess of spilled material accumulating on the concrete. To clean it, you have to physically attach a front loader and a bucket to a tractor, carefully drive it along the feeding trough, scoop up the spilled feed, and dump it back into the trough. If you ignore that visual mess, your 100% efficiency rating takes a massive hit.
Wow, so you really have to do the chores. It's not just a spreadsheet. You are actively managing the physical space. And what about overcrowding? Is that a factor?
Absolutely. If your barn is completely maxed out and you aren't managing the space properly, or if you exceed the capacity limits of your pastures, effectiveness drops. The strategy isn't just about what you put into the feeding trough, it's about maintaining the entire ecosystem.
So keeping things balanced.
Yes. Expanding your facilities gradually rather than just cramming animals into an existing overcapacity structure is how you keep the system running at peak effectiveness. Small inefficiencies, a slightly dirty trough, a TMR mix that is 5% off-bleed profit over time.
It's so true. You might not notice a 5% drop in efficiency on a Tuesday, but over an entire in-game year, that is hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost revenue. Easily.
So let's say a player listening to this has done it perfectly. They started small with 15 cows, they mastered the tedders and the ballers, they bought the mixer wagon and nailed the TMR ratios. They are out there every morning with a front loader, keeping that barn sparkling clean.
Doing everything right.
Doing everything right. They're sitting at a beautiful 100% productivity rating. So what does this all mean for the final product? Let's talk about the milk itself.
The defining characteristic of milk in the game is that, unlike crops which arrive all at once, milk accumulates continuously in your barn storage tank. Because of this, your income potential becomes highly predictable.
You can just map it out.
You can actually forecast your revenue based on your herd size and that productivity percentage. But there is a very crucial logistical strategy you have to employ. Don't just set it to auto-sell, and don't just manually sell the milk every single morning.
Right, because if I just drive my milk trailer to the dairy point every time the tank is full, aren't I just treating it like a chore rather than a commodity? Exactly. You have to watch the market. In Farming Simulator, market prices for commodities fluctuate based on the seasons and supply and demand. There are specific months in the game year where the price of milk peaks.
Oh, I see.
If you sell immediately every single day, you might be selling at a market low, essentially giving your hard-earned product away for a fraction of its worth. The advanced strategy is to check the game's price fluctuation charts, hold your milk inventory in your silos or barn storage, and then sell it all at once during the absolute peak price month.
Okay, but if I hold all my milk for 6 in-game months, I'm going to have an astronomical amount of liquid to move when that peak month finally hits.
And that introduces the next level of logistics, transport efficiency. When you start, you might be using a small, cheap liquid trailer. But if you have stored up 100,000 liters of milk, driving that tiny trailer back and forth to the sell point 20 times is going to consume hours of your real-world time.
Nobody wants to do that.
Nobody. As your operation scales, you must upgrade to larger, semi-truck pulled tanker trailers to maximize your transport capacity. Time is a highly valuable resource, and minimizing your transport trips during that peak selling window is critical.
It all comes down to synergy. And that is where the community strategies bring everything together into this grand ultimate vision for an endgame farm. The absolute strongest, most dominant farms in this game do not abandon crops.
That's a huge misconception.
Yeah. If I'm listening to this, I shouldn't just pave over my beautiful wheat fields to build 10 more cow barns. The secret is combining them into a closed-loop economy.
Yes. The synergy is where the true power of this game lies.